The steady hum of equipment filled the medical bay of the International Space Station as Dr. James Walker finished updating his patient records. The year was 2045, and being the station's chief medical officer meant his days were filled with routine health assessments and maintaining the crew's well-being in the challenging environment of space. He looked out through the bay's circular window, watching Earth spin slowly below. The blue marble of humanity's home never failed to take his breath away, even after 18 months aboard the station. The sight helped him forget about the mundane paperwork that took up most of his morning. Dr. Walker. The station's eye assistant broke the peaceful silence. Captain Mills requests your immediate presence on the command deck. Walker raised an eyebrow. It wasn't like Tom Mills to interrupt medical duties without good reason. Tell him I'm on my way. As he made his way through the station's corridors, using the handholds to navigate in zero gravity, Walker noticed something odd. Every crew member he passed wore the same expression of stunned disbelief, their eyes fixed on the external viewing ports. When he reached the command deck, he understood why. "My God," he whispered. Through the reinforced windows, Walker saw something impossible. A massive vessel hung in space, easily 20 times the size of the ISS. Its surface gleamed with an otherworldly metal that seemed to shift colors as he watched. The ship's design defied Earth's engineering principles. It looked more like a living thing than a spacecraft. "It just appeared," Captain Mills said, his voice tight with tension. No approach vector, no warning. 1 minute empty space, the next. He gestured at the window. "This." "Have they made contact?" Walker asked, his medical training keeping his voice steady despite his racing heart. Mills nodded. 3 minutes ago. In perfect English. He pressed a button on the communications panel. "You should hear this yourself." A voice filled the command deck. It was clearly artificial, but somehow warm and organic at the same time. "Greetings, International Space Station. We come in peace and with an unusual request. Our commander requires medical attention. Specifically, a complete physical examination by a human doctor." Walker blinked. "They want what?" "There's more," Mills said. The recording continued. "We are aware this request may seem strange. We have our own medical facilities, but our commander insists on human medical practices. We have observed your species and believe your hands-on approach might provide insights our technology cannot. We specifically request the assistance of Dr. James Walker." The room fell silent. Walker felt every eye turn to him. "They asked for me by name?" he asked, his mouth dry. "They did," Mills confirmed. "NASA and the UN are scrambling to form a response." But he pointed to another screen showing dozens of incoming messages. Every space agency on Earth is getting flooded with similar requests from the vessel. They're being very polite, but very persistent. Walker ran his hand through his graying hair, a habit from Earth that sent him drifting slightly in the zero gravity. "This has to be some kind of joke. The ship out there says otherwise," Mills replied. "Look, I know it's a lot to ask." "A lot to ask." Walker laughed. "Tom, they're asking me to be the first human to treat an alien patient. That's not a lot. That's impossible." The AI assistant's voice interrupted again. "Dr. Walker, the alien vessel is transmitting medical data. Their commander's vital signs are unusual." Screens around the command deck lit up with streams of biological data. Walker's medical training kicked in automatically as he scanned the readings. Despite their alien nature, he could see patterns, rhythms, and problems. "These readings," he muttered, "they're not random. This is a real patient with real symptoms." Captain Mills watched him closely. "James, no one would blame you for saying no. This goes way beyond your job description." Walker stared at the massive ship outside, then back at the medical readings. Every instinct from his 20 years of medical practice told him one thing. Someone needed help. Human or alien, a doctor's duty remained the same. He took a deep breath. Tell them I accept." The transport beam, as Walker had mentally dubbed it, felt like stepping through a curtain of warm rain. One moment he was in the ISS airlock, surrounded by familiar equipment, and the next he stood in what had to be the alien vessel's medical bay. His first thought was that it looked nothing like a medical facility. The room seemed alive, with walls that pulsed with soft light and surfaces that shifted and moved like liquid metal. There were no visible monitors or medical tools, at least none that he recognized. "Welcome, Dr. Walker," a voice said behind him. "I am Commander Orcs." Walker turned and found himself face to face with the alien commander. The being stood slightly taller than him, with skin that reminded him of polished copper. Its 4 eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern, studied him with obvious curiosity. Despite its alien appearance, Walker could read something familiar in its stance. Pain. "Thank you for coming," Orcs said, its English perfect but with an odd musical quality. "I apologize for the unusual nature of my request." Walker gripped his old-fashioned medical bag tighter. He'd insisted on bringing his own tools, despite offers of superior alien equipment. "No need to apologize, Commander. Though I admit I'm curious why you'd want a human doctor when your medical technology seems, well, centuries ahead of ours." Orcs gestured to what appeared to be a floating chair, which materialized from the shifting walls. "Please, sit. The explanation may take a moment." As Walker sat, he noticed other aliens entering the room. Their medical staff, he assumed. They kept their distance but watched with unconcealed interest. 3 of your Earth months ago," Orcs began, "I started experiencing discomfort. Our medical AI systems ran countless scans. Our doctors performed every test in our considerable database." The commander's upper eyes blinked in sequence. "They found nothing wrong." "But you're still in pain," Walker observed, noting the way Orcs shifted position every few moments. "Yes, and it's getting worse." The commander's lower eyes dimmed slightly. "Then one of our observation teams brought something interesting to my attention. They had been studying Earth's medical practices and noticed something peculiar." "What's that?" "Human doctors still use physical contact in their examinations. You rely on sight, touch, and sound alongside your technology. Our civilization abandoned such practices centuries ago, considering them primitive and unnecessary." Walker nodded slowly, beginning to understand. "You think we might notice something your machines missed?" "Precisely." Orcs gestured to the watching medical staff. "They think this is foolish. They believe bringing you here is a sign of desperation. Perhaps they're right. But," the commander paused, all 4 eyes focusing intently on Walker, "I have watched recordings of human medical procedures. Your species has something we may have lost in our pursuit of technological perfection. Intuition." The alien medical staff stirred at this, clearly uncomfortable with their commander's words. Walker ignored them, focusing on his patient. "Well then," he said, opening his medical bag, "let's start with the basics. When did you first notice the pain, and can you describe it?" "You're not going to use any scanning devices," one of the alien doctors interrupted, their tone suggesting they found this approach primitive. "Not yet," Walker replied calmly, pulling out his stethoscope. "First, I'm going to do what human doctors have done for centuries. Listen to my patient." The commander's eyes brightened with interest. "Your tool. It appears very simple." "Sometimes simple is better," Walker said, warming the stethoscope's metal disc with his hand out of habit. "Now, Commander, please tell me everything you've experienced, and don't leave out any details. In human medicine, the smallest thing might be important." As Orcs began to speak, Walker noticed the alien medical staff moving closer, their initial disdain giving way to curiosity. Perhaps they sensed what he already knew, that sometimes the old ways were the best ways, even among the stars. Dr. Walker listened carefully as Commander X described the symptoms. The pain had started in what the commander called the lower circulation chamber, roughly equivalent to a human's lower abdomen, Walker guessed. It grew worse with movement and showed no pattern in its intensity. "Your doctors found nothing in their scans?" Walker asked, making notes in a small paper notebook he brought along. This earned him more curious looks from the alien medical staff. "Nothing," one of the alien doctors spoke up. "Our quantum imaging systems can see down to the cellular level. There is no damage, no abnormal growth, no foreign bodies." Walker nodded, then turned back to Orcs. "Commander, with your permission, I'd like to perform a physical examination. I'll need to touch the affected area." The alien medical staff shifted uncomfortably. One of them stepped forward, their copper-toned skin flashing with patterns of light that Walker guessed indicated distress. "Commander, this is highly irregular. The human's touch cannot possibly reveal what our advanced systems." "Proceed, Dr. Walker." Orcs interrupted, eyes fixed on the human doctor. Walker began his examination, starting with gentle pressure on different areas of the commander's abdomen. The alien's skin felt warm and had an unusual texture, like smooth leather but somehow alive. He noticed how the color shifted slightly under his touch. "Does this hurt?" he asked, pressing carefully on the lower right quadrant. "Yes," Orcs responded, all four eyes blinking rapidly. "More than other areas." The alien doctors huddled around their floating displays, which showed real-time scans of Walker's examination. They muttered among themselves in their own language, which sounded like musical chimes to Walker's ears. "Interesting," Walker murmured, reaching for his stethoscope again. "May I listen to your circulation chamber?" As he placed the stethoscope against the commander's skin, the alien medical staff fell silent. The only sound was a faint humming from the living walls of the medical bay. Walker closed his eyes, focusing entirely on what he could hear. After a moment, he moved the stethoscope slightly to the right. Then again. On the fourth position, he heard it, a subtle difference in the rhythm of what he assumed was the alien equivalent of blood flow. "There's a slight irregularity in the sound here," he said, opening his eyes. "Commander, when I press here and then here," he demonstrated with gentle touches. "Do you notice any difference in the pain?" "Yes." Orcs' eyes widened. "The second touch causes a sharp increase in discomfort." Walker sat back, his mind working through years of medical training and experience. "Could someone show me those quantum scans of this area?" A display materialized in front of him, showing incredibly detailed images of the commander's internal structure. Walker studied them carefully, comparing them to what he had felt and heard. "Your technology is amazing," he said finally. "The detail is incredible. But I think that might be part of the problem." "Explain," one of the alien doctors demanded. "You're looking too closely," Walker said. "Your scans show every cell, every molecule. But sometimes you need to step back and look at the bigger picture." He pointed to an area on the display. "You're seeing all the trees, but missing the forest. There's inflammation here, subtle, but I can feel it. And the sound of fluid movement is slightly different in this area." The alien doctors crowded around the display, adjusting their view to a wider perspective. One of them made a sudden chiming sound that Walker's translator rendered as surprise. "He's right," the alien doctor said, their skin patterns shifting rapidly. "When we zoom out, there's a clear pattern of..." "Dr. Walker, how did you know to look for this?" Walker smiled, patting his old stethoscope. "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Now let's figure out what's causing this inflammation." "Commander, I have a few more questions about when this pain started." The alien medical staff gathered closer, their earlier skepticism forgotten as they watched a human doctor practice his craft with nothing more than simple tools and centuries of medical tradition to guide him. Dr. Walker stood before the hovering display screen, comparing his notes with the alien medical records. 3 hours had passed since he began his examination, and he was starting to see a pattern emerge. The alien doctors gathered around him, their earlier dismissiveness replaced by genuine interest. "Commander," Walker said, turning to face Orcs, "I need to know about your activities before the pain started. Did you visit any new planets? Come in contact with any unusual materials?" Orcs' 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture Walker had learned indicated deep thought. 3 Earth months ago, I led a survey mission to a newly discovered world. We collected mineral samples, but our decontamination protocols are perfect. Perfect. Walker raised an eyebrow. No system is perfect, Commander. That's something we humans have learned the hard way. He turned to the alien medical staff. Your decontamination process, it targets known threats, correct? Of course, one of the doctors replied, their copper skin flickering with patterns of light. Our systems can identify and eliminate any known pathogen or harmful substance. Any known pathogen, Walker emphasized. But what about unknown ones? Ones your systems aren't programmed to recognize. The medical bay fell silent. Walker could almost hear the pieces clicking into place in everyone's minds. Impossible, another alien doctor protested, but with less certainty than before. Our immune systems are far superior to. Superior, yes, Walker interrupted gently. But different. Sometimes being too advanced can be a weakness. Your bodies might be so good at fighting known threats that you've lost the ability to recognize new ones. He pointed to the display showing the inflammation pattern. This looks remarkably similar to how human bodies react to certain types of bacterial infections. Commander X leaned forward, all 4 eyes focused intently on Walker. Are you suggesting? I believe you have an infection, Commander. A simple one, by human standards. But because it's completely new to your species, your advanced immune system doesn't recognize it as a threat, and because your medical systems are programmed to look for specific types of problems. They missed it entirely. X finished, eyes widening in understanding. Walker nodded. Your technology is looking for complex solutions, but sometimes the simplest answer is the right one. A basic bacterial infection, hiding in plain sight, because it's too simple for your advanced systems to notice. The alien medical staff hurried to their equipment, adjusting settings and recalibrating scanners. After a few moments, one of them made an excited chiming sound. He's right, the alien doctor announced, their skin patterns pulsing with bright colors. When we modify our scanners to look for primitive bacterial structures, there it is. Walker reached into his medical bag and pulled out a small vial. On Earth, we still keep stocks of basic antibiotics, even though we rarely need them anymore. This one should work on the infection. The bacterial structure is similar to ones we've dealt with before. You carry primitive medicine with you? One of the alien doctors asked, sounding amazed. Standard human medical protocol, Walker replied with a small smile. We've learned to be prepared for anything. Sometimes the old solutions are the best ones. Commander X took the medicine without hesitation. Within minutes, the aliens' medical displays showed the infection beginning to respond to the treatment. Remarkable, X said, the pain in their voice already lessening. Our civilization has achieved faster than light travel, developed quantum healing, mastered cellular reconstruction, and we were defeated by something so basic that we couldn't even see it. Walker packed away his stethoscope, thinking about the irony of the situation. There's an old saying on Earth, Commander, sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. Your technology is incredible, but perhaps you've evolved past the point of seeing simple solutions. The alien medical staff gathered around Walker's basic medical tools with new respect, their skin patterns showing colors he hadn't seen before. One of them carefully picked up his stethoscope, studying it as if it were some exotic piece of technology. Dr. Walker, Commander X said, I believe we have much to learn from humans after all. As Commander X's condition improved over the next few hours, Dr. Walker found himself in what appeared to be the alien ship's equivalent of a break room. The walls still pulsed with that strange living light, but the atmosphere was more relaxed. A window looked out toward Earth, hanging like a blue jewel in the darkness of space. Your world is beautiful, Ark said, joining Walker at the window. The commander's movement was already more fluid, the pain clearly diminishing. We've been watching it for quite some time. Walker turned to face the alien leader. How long is quite some time? 200 of your years, X replied, all four eyes blinking in sequence. We watched as your species went from steam engines to space stations. It's been fascinating. Why didn't you make contact earlier? Walker asked, taking a sip from what he hoped was water in an oddly shaped container the aliens had provided. The commander's copper skin rippled with patterns that Walker was beginning to recognize as amusement. We were waiting for the right moment. Your species is young, but remarkably resilient. You overcome challenges in ways we never considered possible. One of the alien doctors approached, holding Walker's stethoscope with careful reverence. Doctor, would you show us how this device works again? Our medical staff is quite intrigued. Walker smiled and took the instrument. It's really quite simple. It amplifies sound waves through these tubes, allowing us to hear what's happening inside the body. Doctors have been using these for hundreds of years on Earth. Hundreds of years. The alien doctor's skin flashed with surprise patterns. And you never replaced it with something more advanced. Oh, we have many advanced tools too, Walker explained. But sometimes the old ways work best. Using a stethoscope teaches doctors to listen carefully, to pay attention to subtle details. It creates a connection between doctor and patient that technology can't replace. Commander Orcs settled into a floating chair. Tell us more about human medicine. How did your species survive before developing advanced technology? For the next hour, Walker shared stories about the history of human medicine. He told them about the discovery of penicillin, the development of vaccines, and the countless trial and error experiments that built modern medical science. The aliens listened with rapt attention, their skin patterns shifting with each new revelation. Your species faced so many diseases, one of the medical staff observed, yet you survived. We did more than survive, Walker said. Each challenge made us stronger, taught us something new. We learned to be adaptable, to think creatively. That's what we lost, Orcs said quietly. In our pursuit of perfect technology, we forgot the value of imperfect solutions. The commander turned to the medical staff. How many other simple problems might we be missing because we're looking too hard for complex answers? Walker watched as the alien doctors discussed this among themselves, their musical language filling the room with chimes and bells. He noticed how their skin patterns synchronized when they agreed on something, creating beautiful ripples of light. Dr. Walker, Commander Orcs said suddenly, would you be willing to teach us? Teach you? Yes. Your medical techniques, your way of thinking. We have much to offer Earth in terms of technology, but it seems we have much to learn from humans as well. Walker looked out at Earth again, thinking about the incredible opportunity being presented. At cultural exchange, he asked. Exactly, Orcs replied. Your human medical knowledge combined with our technology. Think of what we could accomplish together. The alien medical staff gathered closer, their skin patterns showing eager anticipation. Walker thought about his small medical bay on the ISS, about all the doctors on Earth who would jump at this chance, about the possibilities of combining human intuition with alien technology. Commander, he said with a smile, I believe this is the beginning of a remarkable partnership. 1 week had passed since Dr. Walker's initial examination of Commander X. The alien ship now orbited Earth in full view, causing both excitement and nervousness among the people below. But in the medical bay, something remarkable was happening. Place your hand here, Walker instructed a young alien doctor, guiding them through a basic physical examination. Feel how the tissue responds to gentle pressure. That's what we call palpation. The alien's copper skin flickered with concentration patterns as they practiced the technique. Around them, other alien medical staff watched intently, taking notes on their floating displays. What had started as one human doctor teaching basic examination techniques had turned into something much bigger. It's strange, the young doctor said, their skin pulsing with thoughtful colors. Our sensors can detect the smallest changes in cell structure, yet I'm learning things through touch that the sensors miss completely. Walker nodded, remembering his own early days in medical school. That's because you're not just gathering data. You're developing intuition. Your hands are learning to recognize patterns that even the most advanced computers might overlook. Commander Orcs entered the medical bay, moving with the ease of someone fully recovered. Dr. Walker, the council has reviewed our reports. They're impressed. Impressed enough to continue our exchange program. Walker asked, helping another alien doctor position a stethoscope correctly. More than that, Orcs replied, all four eyes bright with excitement. They want to implement human medical training across our entire healthcare system. They believe we've become too dependent on our technology. The medical bay buzzed with the musical sounds of alien discussion. Walker watched as the alien doctors continued practicing with the simple human medical tools he'd brought. Stethoscopes, reflex hammers, blood pressure cuffs. Tools that hadn't changed much in hundreds of years on Earth. Your counsel is wise, Walker said. Technology should support medical knowledge, not replace it. We're already seeing results, one of the senior alien doctors added, their skin patterns showing pride. Since implementing your basic examination techniques, we've discovered 3 other cases similar to the commander's. Simple infections our systems overlooked because they were too basic to trigger our advanced detection protocols. Walker smiled as he watched an alien doctor successfully identify an irregular rhythm using just a stethoscope. You're all learning quickly. We had forgotten something important, Commander Orcs said, observing the training session. In our race to advance, we lost touch with the fundamentals. Your species never made that mistake. You built each new discovery on top of proven methods, rather than replacing them entirely. A young alien doctor raised their hand, skin flickering with curiosity patterns. Dr. Walker, in human medical training, how do you balance technology with traditional methods? We use both, Walker explained, picking up a nearby tablet displaying alien medical data. See this advanced scan? It's incredibly useful, but we don't rely on it exclusively. We use it to confirm what our basic examination suggests, not as a replacement for careful observation and physical examination. Commander Orcs moved to the center of the room, addressing the gathered medical staff. This is the lesson humans have taught us. True advancement doesn't mean abandoning the basics. It means building upon them. From today forward, all our medical personnel will learn both our advanced techniques and human examination methods. The alien doctor's skin patterns synchronized in agreement, creating a beautiful display of shifting colors across the medical bay. Walker watched with satisfaction, thinking about how far they'd come from that first uncertain examination just a week ago. Commander, he said, I believe this is just the beginning. Think of what we could accomplish by combining your advanced technology with our fundamental medical practices. Orcs' eyes brightened. Indeed, Doctor. And speaking of that, there's something else the Council wanted me to discuss with you. They have a proposal about establishing a permanent medical exchange program. 6 months after Dr. Walker's first examination of Commander Orcs, the gleaming building of the newly established Human-Alien Medical Academy stood proudly on the outskirts of Geneva. Its architecture blended Earth's classical design with alien biotechnology, the walls shimmering with the same living light Walker had first seen on the alien vessel. Walker stood at the podium in the main lecture hall, looking out at his unusual class. Rows of seats held both human and alien medical students, all eagerly waiting for the day's lesson. The sight still amazed him. Copper-skinned aliens sitting next to humans in medical scrubs, all united by the desire to learn. Today, he began, we're going to demonstrate why combining our different approaches makes us stronger together. He gestured to Commander Orcs, who now served as co-director of the academy. Orcs stepped forward, all 4 eyes bright with enthusiasm. When Dr. Walker first treated me, he used this. The commander held up a simple stethoscope, a device that, by our standards, should have been obsolete centuries ago. Yet it helped diagnose a condition our most advanced systems missed. A young human medical student raised her hand. But sir, don't the alien quantum scanners give us much more detailed information? Excellent question, Walker replied. Commander, would you like to address this? Arx's skin rippled with teaching patterns, a color display that humans had learned meant the commander was about to make an important point. Watch this demonstration. The alien leader activated a floating display showing incredibly detailed medical scans. This is our quantum imaging technology. Amazing, isn't it? But Walker picked up a stethoscope and handed it to the student. Now, close your eyes and listen to your classmate's heartbeat. The human student did as instructed, while her alien partner sat patiently. After a moment, her eyes opened wide. I can hear a slight murmur that doesn't show up on the quantum scan. Exactly, Walker said. The advanced technology is incredible, but human touch and intuition catch things machines might miss. Together, they're more powerful than either approach alone. The lecture hall buzzed with discussion, the musical tones of alien speech mixing with human voices. Walker watched as students from both species practiced examination techniques on each other, human hands learning to interpret alien vital signs, while alien doctors discovered the value of simple physical examination. Did you ever imagine this 6 months ago? Orcs asked quietly, moving to stand beside Walker. That a simple medical examination would lead to all this. Walker shook his head, smiling as he watched an alien student successfully use a blood pressure cuff on their human partner. Honestly, I was just trying to help a patient, but look at what it's become. The Academy had already produced remarkable results. Human doctors learned to use alien quantum healing technology, while alien physicians discovered the irreplaceable value of hands-on medical care. Together, they were making breakthroughs that neither civilization could have achieved alone. The Council reports that medical error rates across our civilization have dropped by 60% since implementing human examination techniques. Arx said, skin glowing with pride patterns, and I hear Earth's hospitals are having similar success with our technology. Because we're not just exchanging technology, Walker replied, watching the students practice. We're exchanging wisdom. Your people are learning why we kept our primitive methods, and we're learning how to enhance them with advanced technology rather than replace them. As the class continued their practice, Walker picked up an old-fashioned doctor's bag, similar to the one he brought aboard the alien ship that first day. Inside, next to his trusty stethoscope, sat a sleek alien medical scanner. The sight of them together perfectly symbolized what the Academy stood for. You know, Commander, he said thoughtfully, sometimes the best way forward is to remember where we came from. Arx's skin rippled with agreement patterns. Indeed, Doctor. And thanks to one simple request for a human examination, both our species will have a brighter, healthier future. Together, they watched the next generation of human and alien doctors learning from each other, knowing that this was just the beginning of a medical revolution that would span the stars.